Jakob von Weizsäcker MEP. You are the rapporteur on the report on virtual currencies. Yesterday we had a public hearing. What are the main concerns, firstly, for the European consumer?
Well, there are opportunities and concerns. The opportunity is, of course, that transaction costs in many areas are still quite high. When, for example, people work in one country and want to send back money to their family, often they pay up to 10% of the money they want to transfer as a fee. That's high. In the age of email, in the age of the internet, I think we can do better than that. And the technology underlying virtual currency, blockchain technology, can help us reduce transaction costs in a number of areas. So that's the opportunity. Now the challenge and some of the risks are related to, first of all, the proper functioning of such systems. Secondly, to the supervision of such systems, and thirdly, the abuse for such systems, for example, in the area of money laundering, terrorist financing, and so on. So we need to be very careful. We need to think about, as legislators, as regulators, how to tackle the problem. I think we need more transparency on what's going on. We need to prepare ourselves for the eventuality of having to rein in hard if need be, but at the same time, of course, we don't want to stifle these exciting new developments.
You mentioned yesterday taking a precautionary approach. Could that damage the industry that has potential to bring so many gains to Europe?
Well, I think if this is about not precautionary ban on activities, but a precautionary monitoring, so that authorities know what's going on. What are the business models? Are they genuine business models that bring benefit to consumers, or are they perhaps Ponzi schemes in disguise? These are the sort of things that authorities should know about. That doesn't mean we're going to stop these technologies from being put to good use, but it means being on the watch out, because some of these technologies, they can emerge very, very quickly. Let me give you an example. For a long time, people were sending text messages as SMS to one another. And then all of a sudden, a new technology emerged, an exciting technology. People know it as WhatsApp. And after WhatsApp was already very big, a serious design flaw in the software was discovered. Now imagine this wasn't about sending text messages, but it was about sending money. This could have led to very serious trouble. That's why a precautionary monitoring of certain activities is probably called for, but not something that would stop us from exploring the potential of these new technologies.
Do you think that that virtual currencies can hide such illegal activities?
Well, yes, of course, there is a potential. If you have this parallel scheme and they're not monitored in the same way, it's completely decentralized, there is a potential to use this for illegal activity. That, by the way, is also true for cash, unfortunately. But anyway, so there's this potential, and we need to deal with that. It turns out this particular technology of blockchain, while it doesn't enable us to identify the exact address of a person who's sending money, what it does do, and that's different from cash, it gives us a complete record of all the transactions that were ever made in this particular currency, which makes it easier for authorities in a certain way to trace certain illicit activities. But then, of course, the trouble is you trace it to an address in the internet. You don't trace it to a person. So yes, there are challenges. There's no denying it. We need to deal with them. It's very important, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we should stop these technologies from being put to good use. And that's the balancing act we have to strike, and that's the balancing act I will have to strike in my report.
Jeremy Millar, Magister Advisors, you've come to the European Parliament today to talk about virtual currencies. What are the regulatory challenges?
Well, I think in some cases that's a bit of an unknown, but what's clear today is much of the activities of the companies that are working on virtual currencies is already regulated. So if you look at the people that are building effectively Bitcoin banks or Bitcoin exchanges or payment networks on top of the Bitcoin networks, All of these have existing regulation, and most of that regulation is fairly comprehensive. So when you speak with the companies building the products and services on top of Bitcoin, they talk about how they work with regulators today in order to ensure that they comply with the existing regulation. And the good news is on that front, many of the regulators are eager to get educated and understand what adaptation needs to happen in the existing regulation. But I think it's important to recognize that it's the activity that is the area for regulation. I think it's very difficult to actually regulate a technology per se.
And do we need to take further measures to protect consumers?
Well, that's already happening to a degree by the companies themselves. If you look at the leading Bitcoin wallets who are becoming Bitcoin banks, they already are audited by Big Four auditors. They already have deposit insurance. So if you go to the websites of people like Coinbase and Zappo and read through the degree of compliance and security they provide, it's extensive. And in some cases, because we're leveraging the blockchain and the record of all the transactions, more secure than what incumbent banks can offer.
Obviously, in Europe, we have a lot of great concern about terrorism at this moment. Concern has arisen because of the Silk Road case and money laundering. Should this be something that is a cause for concern for European regulators?
Well, eliminating drug trade and eliminating terrorism should be a concern for regulators, but it's already illegal. So what the regulators really should be asking, I believe, is what needs to be done to detect potential already illegal actions on Bitcoin and blockchain networks. And again, if you go back to the big payment processors and exchanges of Bitcoin, they're already doing this and already are helping find the problem. So I think this is an area of education and one of detection, not the need to add more laws. It's already illegal for me to buy drugs. It's already illegal for me to fund a terrorist.